Welcome to the Behind the Art Inspiration podcast, a sneak peek into the studio practices of all types of artists, conversations for collectors who love to listen to the banter and the creative process of international artists. I'm your host, Caroline Karp. Let's get to it. Well, hello, everyone. This is season number 2, episode number 10 of the Behind the Art Inspiration podcast. And in this episode, I'm connecting with my friend, Noelle Rollins of Osceola, Wisconsin. Noelle is an artist, teacher, writer, and master dreamer. From her St. Croix River Valley studio, just outside the Twin Cities, Noelle combines her 25 years of artistic experience with a mission to capture the beauty of life's most sacred moments through art and story. Well, hi, Noelle, how are you?
Good to see you.
I want to hear a little bit more about your mission. You say it's to capture the beauty of life's most sacred moments. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So my art series through the years have been all about, I think my first major one was when I went through a divorce in my 20s, and that process of refining myself after and having to choose between this chaos or this calm. And so that was my first series where it was really personal and all about being stuck in the in-between. Since then, it's been about loss, about grieving, about just choosing to go forward and dream big. I think that there are things everyone can relate to, even if you maybe haven't been through those things. We all can identify with times of having to choose ourselves, or that inner voice that keeps popping up that tells us to go for something that we're scared or we're nervous to do, but we just need some encouragement to listen to it.
Yeah. So I know you through a business group that we're in, because we're both working on our businesses. And so I've watched your journey and kind of seen the different kinds of artwork and writing and just what makes you. So that's why I wanted to bring you on the podcast. And I think initially what I saw that you did were some really amazing portraits. So let's start with some of your portrait work. I know you work with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me about that process of how they get to know you, and then what you do to bring their portrait to life.
Sure. First off, I'll say for anyone who's an artist, I just discovered that I love doing portraits about 2 to 3 years ago. I discovered colored pencils, and before that, I had never worked with colored pencils. So I found that incredibly exciting, that you could be an artist for over 20 years and then discover something that completely changes how you look at art and want to just begin again and start over with a completely new medium. I'll show a few here. So picture I'm holding the colored pencils and I'm learning from scratch how they work. Yes. And I invested in a really good set, and I kind of wanted to play around. So I thought I'll start with some portraits of people that people recognize. So this is one you guys may recognize here.
Yes, indeed. Mr.
Yeah,
Rogers.
so this one was really fun because I got to just work on a little bit of stubble and like the pores and the nose and the gray hairs and how it all came together. The stuffed animal fur. Then I thought, okay, I'm going to do my husband.
Nice.
These are the ones I still have on hand. I never sell the ones. If I find an inspiration online, that most likely that image is copyrighted, so I never sell that that art that I do from that. And then there's me. So now, I just did this actually this last year so that I could start using it on my business, like my website and my YouTube channels, things like that, to actually have that artwork be my photo. So that was something. I love showing, I guess more than even what the art says, what it says to a person. I do a lot of remembrance art, but I also do artwork of maybe grandparents that have never had a portrait done of themselves, or a child, and it's telling someone you're worthy to have someone pour over every feature that you have, and just, we love you so much that we want to celebrate you and kind of capture you in time forever. So I think it's the message that gives to the person that's having the portrait of them done, but also the family members of that person. It just kind of stops time for a moment, and then they have something that forever that they can cherish. So
Nice. And you spoke about special colored pencils. What kind do you use?
Yep. I use Crayon Dash Luminance, and I got like the big box set. Since then, I've worked with some other kinds too, but those were the ones that I really loved. I just tried to research what were the best people out there using, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna just go big and try their materials. And so I actually do videos sometimes too of just the Crayola 12 pack of colored pencils, how to draw with those as well, because there is some tricks you can do. If you just have the most basic supplies, I don't want that ever to stop someone. So there's some things you can do with rubbing alcohol and some paintbrushes to kind of blend the colors a little bit better, and have some fun no matter what your budget or your skill level is.
Yeah, my experience is with Prismacolor.
Okay.
That I've mostly used. I find them really waxy.
Yep.
Yeah. And then also, have you ever used the watercolor pencils, colored pencils?
A little bit. I have a few, and back in art school, I used some. So that was I love them. I want to play around a little bit more, especially I think with hair, kind of doing that and then letting it kind of be a little not exact could be really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Now, when we were talking before we went live here, you were saying that you were going to travel. You were going to take 6 months. Tell me a little bit about that, because you're going to be doing a little bit of a shift, which will be super exciting.
Yeah. So this has been something that there have been tears shed over the years of just frustration. And our oldest is in college now. She's a junior. And so we're finally not living our lives around a school schedule. We homeschool our 10-year-old, and this was part of why we did that. So we'd have flexibility and we could just go do things. And the last few years especially have been really frustrating. I've been ready to do them, and then we get kind of like our most cautious selves would step in and say, wait, there's probably a better time. Let's get more money saved, or are we being the smartest? And finally, I just said, we're doing it. We're done waiting. And so since making that choice, I will say the in-between space is the worst, where you're not quite on either side. You're just stuck in this middle waiting ground.
Yeah.
But actually choosing and like, okay, here's the dream and we're going to go for it. Then you can start aligning all the pieces. And then all of your energy goes from indecision to just making it happen, which is really powerful. And so since we've just decided to do that, we have plane tickets purchased to Japan in March. And then we're kind of now researching where we're going to continue on from there. So we've committed enough that we are going, and then we're filling in the pieces based on how the world's looking and how many countries we're going to see, how many we can fit in while still being smart with the current world situation. So part of that has been, I've had to switch from selling a lot of prints and things that are inventoried in my studio to how can I run my business more online. And I did a little shift of that. We used to live right outside of Minneapolis. And when we moved out here, now we live in this house in the woods, and it's about an hour away. And I had to kind of switch. I used to sell my stuff in a lot of stores around the cities and things like that. And suddenly I was finding like, this isn't quite the same anymore. I love being out here, and I kind of just needed some time in my own little bubble of nature. And so I switched already a lot of things online, but now it's the next step of how can I still run a business without even being there to ship anything. So I'm switching some things to working on like drop shipping canvas prints and things like that, where someone can order, and it doesn't matter if I'm in Italy or Japan or wherever, I can have that shipped to them. So that's something I'm working on, and I'm kind of at a place now where collaborating with others and doing some kind of just creative things where they can be doing most of the work here on the ground, and I can be working before I go and then a little bit while I'm going. And putting together some classes, possibly things like that, to just, I'm caught between, and you may have helpful advice with this while traveling, but how much do I want to allow myself to completely be in the moment and not have to carry the same load, and allow kind of a transformation to take place while I'm traveling? And just some quiet on-plan time, and how much do I need to do to be able to do that? So the reality of bills and life.
Yeah. Wow. That's a tough one.
So,
I would say just being open to the guidance that you're going to get when you
Yeah.
get where you're going. I mean, I don't think you can really answer that question. Just have
Yeah.
supplies ready, I guess. Like
Yes.
I always have to, whenever I'm somewhere, I have to be creating. And it's not that I take the stuff with me. A lot of times it's that I purchase when I'm in that place, and I
Mm,
just have to deal with whatever supplies I can find. So
that's
it,
fun. I like that.
yeah, yeah. Like when I went out to Hawaii, just, I I didn't I took my travel tripod to record, right? What I was doing, so I could put my phone up and watch what I was doing. And but I don't think I took anything else. And I just like found the most local place I could to get supplies and just kind of worked with what they had. But what will be interesting in Japan is, I mean, you won't have a hard time finding stuff.
Right.
It'll just be stuff that you're not maybe quite used to.
Mm-hmm.
But then you document the journey. I think
Yes.
people would be so interested in like watching Nicole go to this new place to find her art supplies, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And really diving in. I think there's something about when you've been an artist for a long
Oh,
time
yeah.
and then getting to try something new. And you have to go back to that mindset of just, it's okay. And it's permission for everybody to just, it's okay that you don't have it all figured out. I mean, even being an artist I sold my first piece when I was 14 and I've been selling it ever since.
Mhm.
There is so much of the art world that I do not have figured out. It's impossible. There's so many parts of it that if I let that stop me or I let that intimidate me, I have a few slices very well figured out,
Mm.
but there's endless materials and processes and ways you can go about selling your art or doing art or creating. And so it's never ending, I think, inspiration if you choose to look at it like that.
Right.
So I love that idea of finding inspiration where you are, choosing those supplies and just kind of going with the feel.
Yeah.
I like that.
Wow. Do you know where you're staying yet when you're there?
We're going to Osaka.
Mm.
Part of the compromise with the 10-year-old, they have a Nintendo world there, like a Mario Brothers
Wow.
world. So we're we use that as motivation. But since then we've been like watching all kinds of videos about like street food and currency, and it's been a really good in to just, now he's full on excited learning the language, and yeah, so it's good. I'm using whatever hook I can to get him to be excited about it.
So I just had an idea flash in my mind. I would like to meet up with you in each place that you go. Like and I mean
Ooh,
virtually. I
yes.
mean, in real life.
You're welcome to join us.
But it would be
I
fun.
love that.
Yeah, it would be fun. That could be our collaboration. It would be fun to, here's Noelle in Japan, here's Noelle in Italy, or wherever you go. And that would be a fun little connection. What did you find there? Tell me a little bit. Maybe like how many weeks do you think you're staying there? Like, what is it, a month long, or is it weeks, or what are you thinking?
For Japan right now, we have just 9 days in Japan because our college daughter is going while she's on break.
Nice.
So then after that, though, it's unlimited. We don't know if maybe we'll stay in Tokyo. Our whole stay is in Osaka, so we figured we'd take a day trip to Tokyo. But we may just book a few more days in Tokyo once she's gone. We'll kind of see. I like that. I've never traveled with such a kind of I'm a planner. I have like spreadsheets for everything. So this is very the surrendering me.
Oh my gosh.
We'll know before we go, I have a feeling, or at least kind of have some home bases planned out. But yeah, I'm still looking at everything from like, I want to see the pyramids to Dubai to everywhere in Europe to, everything, Southeast Asia. So we're just kind of seeing how it's looking for safety and world opening up. And by safety, more health safety.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. So I'm also going to bring up your book, because you just released a book, and tell us a little bit about that, because that's also super exciting.
It is. So it's talking about using life experiences. My mom passed away unexpectedly 12 years ago. I was actually on my honeymoon and going from like the highest of highs in life to getting this news. She was 57. So it was very, it was pancreatitis, undiagnosed pancreatitis. And I started journaling and keeping track of all of the feelings. There's such a roller coaster you go through when you experience loss. Everything from the obvious of sadness, but there a lot of anger, a lot of frustration with people kind of not being ready to jump into the world yet, and the expectations put on you.
Right.
And then also I started getting signs. Like when I was pregnant with my son, my water broke a little bit, and I was like, oh no, this is like, it was while I was going to the bathroom, TMI. But I was like, this is your worst nightmare. How, like, I think my water just broke a little. I'm not sure. So I'm like, all right, mom, help me out here. And I walked back to the bedroom and I lay down, and all of a sudden I kind of felt a contraction. And I was like, oh, I think this is it. And I stood up and I looked, and the clock clicked like slow motion to 11:11. And my water went, Ush. And ever since she had passed, I'd been seeing 11:11 and just having this like kind of just connection feeling with her.
Right.
She'd come through in a few dreams and just really neat experiences. And I started talking about that with others, and I realized I'm not alone. Like, people will see feathers or birds, and you have this feeling of knowing. And it doesn't really matter if anyone else believes you at all. It's just this connection. And so I wanted to write more about that. So the book is called Sacred Hellos, Messages from Heaven. And it's not just about people's stories of signs that they get, but it's all about the grief process, all about kind of me refining myself. Like, it's a different world when your mom is not in the world, like your cheerleader, your person you can go to. Suddenly I was in a new marriage and like all of these changes, and that one person that normally would have your back isn't there. And you're stepping into your in-laws family, who I adore. But at the time, I was marrying their youngest baby and taking him away. Everyone else in that family had been married 20 plus years. And suddenly the single one is now married, and they liked me, but I wasn't fully welcomed right away. So it was a strange, and then I kind of felt like I was in a strange place. I wasn't my best. I was used to having, like, I was on top of life. I was organized. I could get along with people as I needed. And suddenly, like, my whole foundation was ripped out from under me. And now I'm like not feeling strong as a person, and then having to deal with, like, how do you interact with the family that I've never experienced that feeling where I was judged maybe before I don't know. It was a strange thing. And so I write about that process. Yeah. And the feeling of kind of giving more care about things than maybe other people do back. The frustration that can feel sometimes, kind of a lonely feeling where you're putting yourself out into the world and you feel like crickets. You're just like, what that is and how I work through that. And some things I realized about myself, that maybe the vibe wasn't quite what I thought I was giving off, wasn't quite what people were receiving. So I had to do some work on that. So I kind of share that process as well. So it's about grieving, but it's also just about kind of finding myself again through that.
Wow, that's really amazing. And where can people find this book?
Yep. It's on Amazon or Etsy or NoelleRollinsArt.com. Yep.
Okay.
So Sacred Hellos, Messages from Heaven.
I'll put that in the show notes.
Okay.
So that people can go and grab that there.
Perfect.
Is there anything else you want to share with our fans out there?
Sure. So I have been filming the last few weeks. I'm stocking up to do a whole month long of new YouTube videos all about art business lessons, things behind the scenes, everything from the confidence of pricing to how to narrow down your focus possibly. And that's something that I've had a hard time doing. I still do a few different styles and things, but just the things I've learned, and I'm hoping it'll open a dialogue with people, because I don't have all the answers. So I'm hoping others will join in and share their advice too in the comments, and it can start this kind of artists helping artists feel, because I just think the world needs us right now so much, and they need creative people that can take a mess and find beauty in it and find hope and find lessons and share it in a different way that people aren't thinking. Right. I think we're needing creativity more than ever right now. So the more people that are kind of feeling this connection to that, there's solutions and everything come out of that. So yeah.
And where would people join in on that?
It will be starting the week, a few days after Labor Day, on YouTube, and my channel is Noelle Rollins Art.
Okay.
Yep,
so everything's under Noelle Rollins.
Yes. Yep.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining me here. And thank you everybody out there watching and listening as I share my love of fun, connection, collaboration, and art. It would be great if you guys subscribed right here by clicking the little bell down there for YouTube and being a facilitator of conversation. I pose open-ended questions to each artist in my true Caroline style, which is send me a one-sentence blurb about you and what you do as an artist. And then the conversations flow from there. And hey, I would love it if you guys kind of check me out too. My YouTube is Caroline Karp Artist, and that's all my social media is under Caroline Karp Artist. And if you loved listening to this, come back and subscribe and listen again. And thank you again. Noelle, don't go anywhere. I'm just going to stop the recording. Goodbye, everyone.